Imagine a city that, well, just dances to its own rhythm. You know the one, New Orleans? Every street corner, it hums with history, music, that amazing smell of Creole cooking.
Absolutely, a place with such an undeniable spirit.
Right. But beneath all that vibrancy, there's this profound story of transformation.
Hmm,
We're talking about a city that didn't just survive the last 20 years, but really had to reinvent itself.
exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. New Orleans' remarkable 20-year evolution since Hurricane Katrina. It's a journey defined by resilience, sure, but also constant adaptation and grappling with some really deep challenges.
And it was some journey, because anyone who remembers August 2005,
Yeah.
I mean, Katrina was just an unthinkable blow.
Devastating.
Over 80% of the city underwater, more than 1,800 lives lost.
Hmm.
Homes, infrastructure, just shattered. It tested the very limits of a community.
It really did. Yet what we see now, 2 decades on, it isn't just, rebuild buildings. It's a city that's fundamentally shifted its relationship with water. It rediscovered its cultural heartbeat, navigated some incredibly complex social issues.
So our mission today is to unpack that.
Hmm.
How did New Orleans not just survive something so catastrophic, but actually become this kind of blueprint for change?
Yeah, it's about understanding that mindset, really, a mindset forged in survival.
That's a really powerful way to put it. It's not just what happened, but how the city's whole identity sort of shifted.
Precisely. And it shows that sometimes the first act of rebuilding isn't physical at all.
It's cultural,
Mm.
spiritual, even.
Mm.
Which brings us straight into phase one, survival and immediate recovery. This is roughly 2005 to 2010. When Katrina hit, I mean, the city just plunged into crisis mode.
Total crisis.
Forget just the flooding and loss of life. The infrastructure was crippled. Entire communities literally washed away. It was just all-encompassing.
Mm.
Desperate measures just to exist.
Yeah, that initial period was about stopping the bleeding. Emergency measures were absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Things like the rapid levee patchwork they did in 2005, 2006.
Quick fixes, right.
Quick fixes, exactly. Just to prevent more flooding, try to stabilize things. The focus was on the absolute basics of survival.
And yet, amidst that total devastation, New Orleans' cultural heartbeat, it just refused to stop.
It's incredible.
What does it even tell us that Mardi Gras parades this huge symbol of the city's spirit? They came back just months later, starting in 2006. You had local musicians, displaced, picking up their horns, small restaurants maybe barely functioning, finding ways to reopen. It was just this astonishing display of cultural resilience, like a collective insistence on life.
It's such a crucial lesson, actually, for disaster recovery anywhere. The soul of a city often leads its physical rebirth.
That makes sense.
New Orleans culture, the music, the festivals, the food, it became this source of hope, a rallying point when the infrastructure just couldn't provide that yet.
Right.
It wasn't about the big rebuilding projects then. It was about that immediate gut need to find joy, find community, reaffirm who they were. That's what kept the spirit alive when the physical city was broken. It laid the essential groundwork for everything that followed.
Okay, so that spirit then sets the stage for phase two, rebuilding the foundations.
Yeah.
This is roughly 2010 to 2015.
Right, the next chapter.
And this is where the real heavy lifting starts, the massive federal investment. We're talking $14.4 billion.
Huge numbers.
Over 9 years, rebuilding 192 miles of levees, floodgates, pump stations. By 2015, they say this system was one of the strongest in the U.S. Can you help us grasp the sheer scale of that? What did that mean for people living there?
Oh, a scale was just monumental, a truly Herculean effort to re-engineer the city's physical defenses. For residents, it meant, well, a tangible promise of safety after years of feeling so vulnerable.
You can imagine.
It was about restoring faith in the city's future, this idea that maybe the next storm wouldn't bring the same level of catastrophe. But interestingly, while they were rebuilding those physical defenses, something else was kind of bubbling up.
What was that?
The food scene. Almost instinctively, New Orleans' iconic food scene started its own powerful comeback. It was nourishing bodies, sure, but also the city's spirit. By 2010, chefs hadn't just restored places, they were reimagining the culinary landscape, blending that deep Creole heritage with new global ideas. And that led to a real surge in food tourism.
So physical security and cultural sustenance both happening then. But this period also saw that major education overhaul, the shift to a mostly charter system.
Yes, a very significant shift.
On one hand, okay, it modernized buildings, offered new models,
Yeah.
but the controversy, it displaced thousands of black teachers.
That was the huge consequence.
For a city that relies so much on its deep community fabric, How did that displacement actually, play out on the ground? What were the long-term social effects? Maybe unintended ones.
Well, this period really highlights a critical paradox in disaster recovery, doesn't it? The very things meant to modernize can sometimes erode these deep community structures, create new inequalities.
Right.
That rapid shift to charters, while aiming for modernization, it inadvertently created these deep fractures, displacing thousands of Black teachers. I mean, that severed a vital cultural and mentorship link. These teachers were often community anchors. They embodied the city's heritage, its values. Their absence created this vacuum, impacting generations of students, the very sense of identity within the school. So yes, this period was crucial for rebuilding, absolutely necessary for the physical future. But as you said, it also sowed these seeds of inequality in education that would take, and still are taking, decades to address. The how of rebuilding matters just as much as the what.
That's a really stark reminder. Progress isn't always straightforward, is it?
Yeah.
And that complex legacy leads us into phase 3, cultural strength and environmental awareness. This is 2015 to 2020. And this is where we see those earlier cultural efforts really bloom. Things like Musicians Village, launched back in '06 to bring artists home, they really matured by the mid-2010s.
Yeah, they hit their stride.
By 2020, the nightlife, the jazz districts, they were absolutely thriving again, pulsating with energy. But, beneath that vibrant surface, was everyone really able to participate in this comeback?
That's a critical question. Because while the music filled the streets again, you had rising costs of living, gentrification.
Yes.
It meant that some of the very artists who define New Orleans culture, they actually struggled to afford to come back or even stay in their historic neighborhoods. That was sort of the silent challenge under the surface.
Yeah.
But alongside this cultural resurgence, there was also this significant shift in environmental thinking. The city started to embrace green infrastructure.
How did that look?
Well, projects like the Lafitte Greenway, which opened in 2015, they weren't just for recreation. They introduced things like rain gardens, bioswales.
Bioswales.
Yeah, those are like vegetated channels designed to slow down and filter stormwater, and public parks specifically designed to manage water.
Okay, so we're seeing culture fully revived, yes,
Yeah.
but also this awareness of the social cost for some. And for the first time, the city is treating water not just as an enemy to build walls against,
Exactly.
but as this permanent reality you have to live with. That feels like a profound shift in perspective,
Yeah.
moving beyond just defense.
It really represented a maturing understanding of their environment, a realization that, engineering alone wasn't going to be enough. It moved from just reacting to a more integrated, adaptive approach, recognizing water as part of the city's future, not just a threat.
Which brings us pretty much up to date. Phase 4, testing resilience, facing new threats. This is 2020 to 2025. And we saw a huge test of all that infrastructure investment with Hurricane Ida in 2021.
It's a major test.
The upgraded levee system held strong, which must have been, for many, a validation of years of work, proof that engineering could protect the city from a major surge. That must have been an immense relief, but also maybe a new kind of realization.
I'd approve the engineering, absolutely. And it was a profound relief that the city's walls held against the surge. But it also revealed this critical paradox, a really profound truth. Even the strongest walls can't fully contain the new realities of climate change. Meaning, the fight shifted. It wasn't just about keeping the big surge out anymore. It became about learning how to live with water on a more daily basis. Things like intense rainfall. And that's a much more complex challenge than just concrete.
Right. Because despite those strong levees, the city faced 41 flash flood warnings in a single year recently.
41 in 2025, yeah. These new vulnerabilities, they're driven by heavier rainfall, ongoing sea level rise about ½ inch a year, and land subsidence. The land itself is sinking maybe 2 inches a year in places.
Wow, so the walls are stronger, but the ground's sinking and the rain's getting heavier.
Exactly, it's a multi-pronged problem now.
And that's where this new generation, shaped by Katrina's shadow, has really stepped up, hasn't it? We're seeing these young leaders emerge in environmental justice.
Yes, demanding sustainable solutions, demanding equity and recovery efforts.
They're pushing for really forward-thinking change, recognizing that the solutions aren't purely engineering anymore.
Absolutely not. Their activism highlights that true resilience needs social and environmental justice, not just bigger walls. And, importantly, 2 decades later, we are finally seeing deliberate efforts to address some of those educational gaps we talked about.
The teacher displacement issue.
Yes, Schools are beginning to actually rehire Black teachers, trying to restore that vital cultural connection that was so damaged during the charter overhaul. It's a long road, but it's necessary. It shows the work of repair is continuous.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it just underlines that resilience isn't some fixed state you achieve.
Never permanent.
Even with stronger walls, climate change, historical inequalities, they demand constant adaptation. Not just physical, but social, cultural, environmental. The work is always ongoing, always evolving.
That continuous work really defines the whole mindset shift New Orleans has gone through. It's a fascinating progression when you lay it out.
Yeah, let's recap that. From 2005 to 2010, it was purely survive. Keep the culture alive, somehow, amidst the devastation.
Then 2010 to 2015, that shifted to rebuild. Focus on the physical stuff. Levees, schools, restaurants. But, as we saw, also sowing seeds of new challenges.
And by 2015 to 2020, the city starts to revive. Music, food, green spaces bringing back pride, a sense of normalcy, even while issues like gentrification were simmering.
And now, 2020 to 2025, it's about reinvent. Truly embracing living with water, directly tackling inequity, adapting to these new climate realities, recognizing the solutions have to be holistic.
The psychological transformation there is just profound. New Orleans no longer sees water only as an enemy you fight back constantly.
No.
Instead, it's actively adapting through engineering, yes, but also through culture, through activism, to actually live with it. It's a total paradigm shift, born from necessity maybe, but also deep understanding.
Exactly, and this raises a really important point. While the achievements are immense, from survival and cultural resilience to new levees, the culinary revival, green infrastructure, the journey's nowhere near over.
No, definitely not.
Lingering issues persist. You've got the enduring trauma, ongoing displacement, those educational inequalities, gentrification, rising costs.
And the big ones.
And, crucially, the intensifying climate-driven floods, the continued land subsidence, the equity gaps that still demand serious attention. These aren't just footnotes. They're central to New Orleans' ongoing story.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear. 20 years post-Katrina, New Orleans has gone from ruins to a city that's constantly reinventing itself. It's a staggered recovery, isn't it?
Very staggered.
Festivals, food, music, they came back fast, almost instinctively. The big infrastructure, that took a solid decade to rebuild.
At least.
And social equity, as we've discussed, that remains this vital, ongoing work in progress.
But that enduring spirit of New Orleans, it's just undeniable. Its resilience isn't just in the concrete walls or the rebuilt streets.
Where is it then?
It's in the rhythm of its people, That rhythm that turns grief into music, struggle into pride, and loss into this deeper love for life that just refuses to be drowned.
And that spirit leaves us with a really compelling thought for you, the listener, to take away. Even as New Orleans adapts to live with water, using engineering, culture, activism, the floods are getting more frequent, the seas are still rising, the fight is clearly far from over.
It's a continuous challenge.
So what lessons does this constant adaptation hold for other cities around the world facing similar climate realities? And how can they learn from New Orleans' ongoing, really complex journey of resilience?
That's a truly thought-provoking question, because New Orleans' story is, in so many ways, a microcosm of the global challenge we're all starting to face.
Indeed it is. Well, that's all for this deep dive into the incredible resilience of New Orleans. We hope you feel a little more informed and maybe a lot more inspired by this remarkable city. Until next time.